I don't even know how to start this video, if I'm going to be so honest. I guess the only way that I can start with it is saying that my goal for this year is to be the most authentic and real as possible. And I feel that the only thing that's holding me back from truly being authentic and real is the state of perfection, or this pressure of perfection and having all the right things to say and having everything planned out and all of that. But I feel so passionate to talk about my life in the past 4 weeks. Do I really want to talk about it? No. but but do I want to be more real and authentic and vulnerable? Yes. So this is my exercise to do so and to truly let go. A few weeks ago, I really hit a wall, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it. I really hit a wall because I was pressuring myself to be in the state of perfection. Now, this this was like this state of perfection applied to everything in my life. Everything. Every aspect of my life, I needed to present perfectly. See, here's the problem with this though, is that for me, especially, and like a lot of people that I've talked to, but for me, is that the only time that I've ever taken immense action, the most efficient, quick action, is when I'm under pressure, is when something goes wrong in a way that I didn't want it to, and I'm in a state of mind that I don't want to be in. That is when I take immediate action. So, in this state of perfection, like I said, it applied to everything. It especially applied to my mental state of having to appear perfectly, not just for my friends and family and the people around me, but also for myself. Like, I would take if you think negatively, you're going to attract negatively. Which, yes, that's true, but I would take that literally, as in if I was feeling any negative emotion, I would completely dismiss it. Because if I had acknowledged and brought that negative emotion to light, then that meant that it was true. So a few weeks ago, I'm putting myself under this immense pressure. I was feeling all of these negative emotions, but you know what? In my state of mind, then I couldn't bring any of it to light. I couldn't acknowledge that I was feeling those things because then it meant that I was feeling those things. Like I was feeling stressed and anxious and sad and lost and like, I don't know, just questioned almost everything. and, and God forbid if I told myself, oh, I'm feeling sad today, that meant that I was feeling sad. So here's the problem with that. As I mentioned before, is the only time that I've taken immense action to do anything with my life is when I'm in a state of mind that I no longer want to be in, or when something not ideal happens in my life, some occurrence or anything like that. So when I am keeping this state of perfection and I'm completely dismissing everything that's negative, I am dismissing the perfect opportunity to take action to better myself and better my life. I was also preparing for a conference that I recently spoke at last week. Incredible conference, by the way. Like, anyway. in the moments, I was preparing for a conference where I would be on a panel up on stage and speaking. I just talked about the mental toll and I guess me being in my own way of self-growth and being able to leverage a negative situation. You can always leverage from a negative situation when you look at it in a positive manner. And you look at it as a state of you own the situation rather than it owns you. And I think for me, I was looking at perfection as a situation that owns me. I had to be perfect in every way versus me owning that state of perfection. In the state of perfection, I felt like I was trying to present myself of someone who is a very soft and gentle nature. And as much as those are traits that I do have, those are mine. Those aren't my strong suits. I am a very gentle person. I feel like this is a great example, is anytime that I am in my most vulnerable state, I do not go to people who validate me or treat me in a soft and gentle manner, or validate my emotions, or motivate me, or encourage me, or support me in a soft and gentle manner. No, I turn on a podcast by David Goggins, who tells me to get out of my bed and do something with my life before I become a loss of potential. That's just who I am at the very core. Very, very core. So when I realized that I was pushing myself to be this soft and gentle person and to convey myself as if that is my strong suit, we had a problem there. Because what I define as my weaknesses are my greatest strengths. And that is the fact that I am ambitious and driven and hungry. I have this insatiable hunger and drive and ambition that I was suppressing so that I can make room for this soft and gentle nature, which, like I said, isn't my strong suit. There's this limiting belief that I've been dealing with as a child, up until this point, that who I am at the core, this ambition, this drive, this hunger, this relentlessness, would be too much, too intense for people. So I felt the need to hide it, to suppress it. Also, growing up, I've been told that I have been intimidating, which I feel like is one of the reasons why I may have felt the need to suppress all of those things and come off as a more gentle and soft person and hide my strong suits. And it took me up until this point realizing that those are my greatest strengths. Those are what make me who I am. A couple days before this conference, I realized that by putting myself in a state of perfection, I was dismissing any opportunity to become the best version of myself and to really grow as a person. And on top of that, I shouldn't be suppressing what really is my greatest strengths. I shouldn't be worried if people can take the intensity of who I am. My concern shouldn't be whether I am digestible or not. And if I'm not digestible by a certain person, then they can choke. That was very vulgar. That was... Oops. So then the conference happened. Little did everyone know who was in that room knew the the turmoil that I had put myself through before walking up on that stage and what those couple weeks had looked like. I truly felt comfortable on stage, and I genuinely do believe it's because I had these realizations of stop being perfect, embrace the imperfections, because it's who you are. You're human. That's what makes you perfect. And on top of that, when you're stressing about being perfect and saying all the right things and presenting yourself the right way, God, you're gonna stress the fuck out of yourself. And that's exactly what I did. After this conference, I had another realization. And that was being asked, in what way had I put myself in uncomfortable situations in the past 6 months? Which I won't lie, when being asked that question, I was kind of stunted because I had to really think. When was the last time that I put myself in an uncomfortable situation? And as much as I gave my best answer, that question really lingered in my head afterwards. This question ties back to a goal that I had set for myself and still have for 2026, but now, after being asked this question, is a major goal. And that is to put myself in a position where I'm physically uncomfortable. I gave my best answer that I could in that moment, but that question still lingered in my head. Because here's the thing is I deal with emotional, mental, spiritual uncomfortability every single day, to the point where I feel that, not that I'm desensitized to it, but it's not something that I see as an uncomfortable struggle. It's just, okay, it's here. It's all right. Now this has fallen onto my lap. Like, you don't really think of it. One of the things that I realized that separates my perspective in the realm of spirituality or self improvement from another person is I find that a lot of people, they want to improve themselves, but they are more focused on the time that it will take to improve versus the result itself. And that's the thing that discourages them from getting over loss, getting over tragedy, from diminishing bad habits or anything like that. For me, I do not focus on time. I'm focusing more on the result. I mean, don't get me wrong, with self improvement, it is truly about the journey rather than the end result. It's who you become on the way versus when you finally get there. Because I guess the relief of achieving a goal only truly hits for those immediate few seconds, and then it's like, okay, you're used to it, and now it's like, all right, on to the next. I don't focus on the time that it takes in order to become a person. You just do it. You just implement it into your everyday life, and like that's how it is. So that's what I mean by uncomfortability. I realized that I hadn't put myself in an uncomfortable situation in the past 6 months. Because to me, what I guess defines as uncomfortable would be putting myself in a physical state of uncomfortability. Putting myself in a state where it's just physically demanding in a way that I have never done before, where I have to question if I can truly do this. This is my current hardship at the moment, is the fact that I deal with emotional and mental struggle every single day, or uncomfortability every single day, to the point where not that I'm desensitized by it, but I just don't think about the uncomfortability aspect of whatever falls on my lap, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. If something happens, if I'm going through something, a negative emotion arise, or I don't know, like thoughts resurface, I know that I'm capable of completely rearranging that and getting through those turmoils. Like, I can trust myself, knowing that I'm equipped with all of the resources that I have to gauge through those turmoils mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So, none of that is uncomfortable to me. But I haven't put myself in a situation where I'm physically uncomfortable. From that realization that maybe this is one of the things that is preventing me from being raw and authentic and real, I have taken note of the fact that under any sort of occurrence that comes into my life, or just any like unwanted situation, there is a part of me. It's like a on switch. When my limits are tested, there is a side of me that comes out where it's just pure ambition and hunger, relentlessness, motivation, where I just become unstoppable and unfuckwithable. And that is the side of me that I have suppressed to match this state of perfection. Now, of course, realizing, okay, we're forgetting perfection and now we're embracing imperfection. Now I want to get back into that side, in touch with that side, to the point where I do not want this side to only come out when shit hits the fan. I want this side to come out as an everyday walk of life, where it is an everyday walk of life that I am ambitious, relentless, hunger driven, motivated, unfuck, like unstoppable, whatever you want to name it. And so, my current hardship that I am going through is, how can I put myself in a position where I am physically uncomfortable so that how can I put myself in a position where my limits are tested so that I can bring out this side of me? And ultimately, the more that I put myself in a position to be uncomfortable this year, that this side of me now becomes part of me entirely as an everyday walk of life. It is the forefront of who I am. This goal of wanting to put myself in a physical state of uncomfortability is no longer just a goal, it's a major goal. It's a necessity, it's a need. I need to do this. Especially in this past week, so many realizations have been just happening like clockwork. And one of them, and I feel like they're all signs, they're all things that I've really known subconsciously that I've kind of just suppressed, or I've just like like shoved to the side, shoved under the rug type of thing until now. It was I genuinely think it was because of that question that it just opened the doors. And now this need this need to be in a physical state of uncomfortability is so strong. It's so strong. On top of that too, growing up as a kid, I grew up traveling everywhere. My entire life up until 3 years ago has been about traveling, constantly being on the go. My entire life has kind of just been uprooting myself and being exposed to different people, cultures, community, everywhere that I went, which I am so grateful for. I'm so appreciative for. And honestly, I do believe that having that opportunity to travel is the reason why I find such beauty in people and community and culture and experiences. And I do think that that is the reason why that I view life so full of that I see life to be so full of light and to see people so full of light. 3 years ago, I moved out to New York for school, and it was my first time moving on my own. And when I came here, I immediately saw that this was a great opportunity for me to create a consistent and predictable lifestyle of my own. So I went to school, and after school, continued to stay in New York, living this consistent, predictable lifestyle, going to the gym, school, work, home. Now I'm realizing that this is a life that I'm not meant to live. I'm not meant to live in New York long term. I'm not meant to be anywhere long term. And this is the current hardship that I am in, is the fact that as much as I have been living an incredible life here in the city, I absolutely love New York. Absolutely love everything that it has to offer. In my blood and in who I am not meant to be here long term. I'm not meant to be anywhere long term. I've built this consistent and predictable lifestyle, but this is not who I am. And what's so funny is I talk to my parents and they're not surprised at all. they're like, they're like, we raised you this way. We saw this coming. Through living a consistent and predictable life in the city, which is kind of funny because I think that New York is pretty unpredictable, but or is notorious for being pretty unpredictable. But in living and creating this life of my own full of predictability and I guess consistency, I have gotten out of touch with who I am at the very core of being on the go, of being able to uproot myself, of I guess what I would consider a slow nomad, not necessarily a full on nomad, but like a very chill nomad. This is where I'm at right now. And I won't lie, it's incredibly uncomfortable. It's incredibly uncomfortable to sit or to feel like I'm in a situation in which I feel like I have completely grown past, and yet feeling like I still need to sit in the situation and still need to be in the city. I'm also really grateful for these past couple weeks. Anything this past month, because I feel like this past month I had gone through so many breakthroughs, first being perfection, then embracing imperfection, then not suppressing what was defined as my weaknesses and that those weaknesses were actually my strengths, and now realizing that I want to put myself in a physically uncomfortable situation where I'm really testing my limits so that I get in touch with those strengths to the point that that is an everyday walk of life. And I really wish that I had the best advice to give myself in this moment. I just came on here to talk because I'm still managing, figuring out what my next step is. Of course, I feel a sense of clarity but also a loss of direction. Okay, great. Now I have this immense passion and desire. What do I do with it? Where do I go with that? Which I know that I will figure it out. If anything, I probably will be figuring it out in the next hour. Because, like I said, these breakthroughs are like clockwork. I know that there's going to be people who watch this and or listen to this and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? But that's okay. That's okay. I was explaining this to my parents the other day. Just the way that before moving to New York, which I wasn't supposed to move to New York at all. But before moving to New York, one of the things that prompted me to make that decision and really follow through with it is because I knew that there was a version of myself in the city here that I needed to become that I would not become if I had stayed in California. That is one of the main reasons, other than school, of course. That was one of the main reasons why I moved to the city. So now I feel this, and as a woman with strong instincts and strong intuition, I feel the same way about New York as to putting myself in a physically demanding environment or situation, whether that's traveling outside of the country. I I think it's going to look like traveling outside of the country. Get that same instinct, that same intuition, as there is a version of me who is so full of depth, even more depth than where I am right now, and authenticity and rawness that is out there. And the longer that I am in the city and the longer that I am living this life of predictability, I cannot become her. So I must go. Before I continue to be haunted by this question as to what uncomfortable situations have I put myself in the past 6 months. The main reason why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna press record and I'm just gonna start talking. Not because I really want to. I'm gonna be so honest. I really don't. But because I know that I can be so much more real. And there is far more depth to me than what I put on the internet that I want to show and I want to share. So, what better way than to pick up the camera and talk about all of the emotional and mental breakthroughs that I've had this past month? If anyone has any recommendations or ideas, please let me know. And if not, then, well, thank you for listening and tuning in.